Check it out, guys. I want to show you a cool trick for when you're out throwing a wacky rig or a drop shot with an exposed hook. And yeah, you could buy those hooks with the weed guards already on them, which I do all the time, but there's that situation where you don't want a weed guard, you want a weed guard. Sometimes I find myself cutting off the weed guard, and then I get to another scenario and I'm like, I wish I had that weed guard. I'm going to show you something I keep in my tackle box that makes life super simple. Notice these rolled up cords right here, okay? What do you notice in there? See that? That little wire twist tie? Guys, I have made and tried to make weed guards out of piano wire, tons of different wire, and if you look right up here in my messy shop, you'll see I have a big old bag full of those coming off of bread ties, everything else, and I keep these in my tackle box. Let me show you how I use them. All right, guys, looks like I have you at a pretty solid angle there. Let's just go ahead and take our Senko off of there. It's a BKK Predator WG wacky hook. Now, I've just taken that little plastic tie. I've stripped half of it off. You can use your fingernails or pliers. It pulls off really, really easy. Now, to get started, let me make sure I don't block your view. That's going to be the tricky part. I have really shaky hands, so bear with me. I'm just going to hold the eye of the hook and kind of poke that in there in between my fingers and just give it a couple of 2 or 3 wraps to get it started, kind of like so. That was probably 3 or 4, but whatever, you get the point. Then I'm going to slide it up kind of closer to the eye, and then I'm going to go around a good 5 or 6 times, and you want to make sure you got it tight. That's going to prevent that wire from slipping around, because you want it to actually hang relatively tight on that hook. And I'm going to wrap it right up to the base of the eye of the hook like that. Then I'm going to pinch it, hold it straight, shake around a bunch for you, and then cut it off. Now that is the single keeper, like so. Not very pretty. You can trim off the tag end on that side, but it gets the job done remarkably well for the wacky rig. Now I'll show you the double wire version. And trust me, guys, I've messed with piano wire, a ton of stuff. That these little bread ties or wire ties just seem to be that perfect gauge for not being too strong and blocking the fish, but yet keeping a lot of weeds and branches from getting snagged on that hook point. And yeah, you can twist it around a little bit and it will shift around from time to time. You can put a dot of crazy glue on there and that'll lock it in tighter, but believe it or not, just like this works remarkably well. All right, so I went ahead and stripped the rest of this plastic off, and usually just one of these things is more than enough. I took the other wire off of the hook already, so the nice part is if you want to switch it up on the fly, you really can. So I'll show you a trick here. We're going to bring both points together, and we're going to kind of just squeeze it down like so. We're just folding it over like a piece of fishing line or braid. Now, we're just going to do the exact same motion with it doubled over. All right. Yeah, it's a little ugly. We need to trim that tag in. But the doubled over portion now, you just cut it, and then you can pull those apart. You could see now at that angle, you have the double weed guard on there. Not sure how well you guys can actually see that, but you do have the double, which can give you a little bit more added bonus if you're coming through a bunch of twigs. Then the tag end like so on that wire. You can bend that part over and just cut that off. But this opens a lot of options up on the fly, guys, if you're out there and you don't have something with a weed guard and you need it. Those little bread ties, man, those little wire ties can really help you out in a pinch. We have the double weed guard there, the single weed guard here. Obviously, the more wraps you put around the backbone of the hook there, it's going to be more rigid and the wire's not going to shift out of place. But if you're rigging up these the night before or something, go ahead and put a dot of crazy glue on there and you'll be good to go. Hopefully you enjoy the trick.